Hi everyone, welcome to that episode of ATB Meets. Today we have with us Matt Larabee from Greylock Studios. How are you, Matt?
Hey, I'm well. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you here, my friend. Good to have you here. We've got you here today to talk about your game Seven Steel, which recently released on the Switch.
Correct, yeah.
And I've just been saying to you off camera, you've been playing this the last few days constantly. I'm actually playing it now. I've got two screens on. I've got you on one screen and the game on another screen, so I've been playing it all day. Nice. It is a awesome, really fun, high energetic, super stylized first-person shooting game. And so tell us a little bit about the story and maybe when you started production on it and what inspired you to want to make a game like
Sure. Well, I mean, the game story itself, it's pretty story light. It's a revenge story. It's like a sci-fi future. You work for this evil company and they betray you, you could say, and most of the game is you shooting at them. So it's a first-person shooter that I started developing. I mean, about three years ago, and the game launched 1 year ago, right, on PC.
That's it.
And it just launched on Switch, Xbox, PlayStation 2 weeks ago, something like that. It's my first video game that I made.
Which is incredible, by the way, because
Thank you.
For a couple of reasons. One, the game is extremely polished, I thought. That, you know, because so anyone who's played it so far, you know that you have a number of attacks you can utilize as you're running through these levels, you know, and people will be familiar with these type of attacks. So you can slide on the ground, you know, jump, run along the walls, double jump, and it's kind of like you chain all these attacks together and it really works. I mean, it's really polished, you know, and you can, it's like one of the, you know, when they say a game is almost easy to pick up, it's very hard to master, right? You know, there's a lot of combinations you can add to attacks, but it's so satisfying. So yeah, I just wanted to say that that's the first thing that impacted me, is just how polished it was. And which led me to say that, you know, I was just amazed when I read, I asked you this before, that at least majorly you did this, or you started production by yourself. Which is
thank you. Yeah, it started off as just kind of me and my laptop teaching myself Unreal.
God.
I mean, it was an obscene amount of work. But I mean, now that because it's my first project, there's so many features that I tried to put in that I had to take out.
I was going to ask you that further down the interview, like, because there's so much involved, and you know, I wanted to ask you, is there any, you know, so maybe you can run us through some of the attacks that you have in the game, and maybe some of the features or you know, mechanics that you wanted to put in that maybe you had to take out for whatever reasons.
Oh yeah, so at one point there was a snowmobile in the game, which is hilarious. Yeah, because the game is right now it's very much you're inside the whole game. There's no outside, but there was at one point where you were going to drive between the levels with a snowmobile, and I mean, there were some levels long ago that had like, there were a lot of like puzzles, like bank vaults you had to break into. Yeah. With like puzzles to solve inside. There was a codec conversation system from like Metal Gear Solid, where there'd be like two faces on the screen. They'd have dialogue at the bottom. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
So is that mostly because of like, just I imagine because if you're making a game by yourself, you must be pretty light on time, right? Like you must have so much constraints on time to
yeah, you know? Well, it was one thing that my publisher Digital helped me figure out. Like I had all these features in, and they're like, realistically, which of these features are making the game fun? And like, this is not the game where you should stop and have like a codec conversation. Like it's not that vibe. So we started trimming out all the extras and just got the game down to this like core game loop, which is it's just combat. The game is like 95% combat.
Yeah. It's unbelievably quick. It's just frenetic, you know. It's just
exactly, yeah.
You know, it just does not stop. It's like I catch myself playing it. I'm sure, you know, after I have a death in the game, I feel I don't know if I even breathed during that round. You know, like you're just fixated and you're just because you're constantly moving, right? You can't stand still, or you're basically gonna die. You know, and so the game urges you, you know, to be chaining these attacks, right? So you're constantly sliding or jumping off a wall, double jumping, you know, and like, you know, jumping through windows, shooting the glass and jumping through windows, and you know. And tell us a little bit about the bullet time, because I almost completely forgot about bullet time in games. I honestly, when the first time I used it in Seven Steel, I literally just sat back. I was like, oh my god, I missed this. Like, I missed this in game because it's so satisfying. You know, the amount of different scenarios that invites onto you. You know, like I've had situations where I've had bad guys jumping in the air in slow motion, you know, and shooting them, and it just looks so stylized and so satisfying when you see the last bullet hit them and they're dying, you know, and they're floating away. And you know, I said to you before the interview, I had this crazy moment earlier today where I was sliding across the floor in between one of the bad guy's legs. I turned around, shot him in the back. It was just, you know, it's just so satisfying, you know. And I haven't felt that in a game for a long time. So what inspired you to implement bullet time in the game? You know, any games you played in the past that stuck with you?
Well, you know, when I was growing up, bullet time was in everywhere,
like Max Payne and such. And
exactly, Max Payne was big back then. It was a top tier video game. And you had Fear, which is a PC first person shooter, of course, which had tons of bullet time, and just like every like random PS2 shooter would have like bullet time wedged in there somewhere. And it's just so cool. And that was like, even before I started working on this game, like when I was thinking about like what game do I want to make, bullet time was it was like from the start, like this game's gonna have bullet time. And it was one of the first features I implemented, and even how I implemented, I think on Switch it's bound to left trigger. So the trigger that you
left trigger,
So what you normally press to aim down the sight in like Call of Duty or whatever is bullet time in this game. And on PC, it's bound to right mouse, and you're given like tons of bullet time. Like you can run out.
It's so generous. I love it.
It's very generous. Yeah, it's like as long as you're shooting people, you're gonna keep bullet time up. So the whole idea is that like whenever you want bullet time, it's there for you.
That's what I love about it, because I'm not that skilled to run around without bullet time. Like I've tried to, you know, I'm getting murdered everywhere. So like I need bullet time. Especially if you're on a console controller, which, like I was saying before the interview, we're starting to work on gyro, so you might not need it as much in the future. Thank you. But I think bullet time looks cool, but it's also like it's a useful gameplay mechanic to help. You know, everyone can compete. What inspired you to have this type of art style, and did you consider other art styles? You know, did you maybe just play around with different art styles during the development time?
I mean, I had to experiment a lot. I'm not. I mean, art's not really my primary skill. Like, I can't draw a circle. Like, I can't do anything art-wise. So it was really like a lot of like trying to figure out like what looks good, but that like I'm capable of doing. And a lot of it's like there's a lot of resources for game textures online. So I was also figuring out like what textures can I find that like work together well. And it was just constantly iterating and tweaking and changing the lighting, and ultimately like what worked in the end. Another limiting factor is the environment's totally destructible.
I loved it.
Which is fun. Thank you. But it means that the environment can't be too detailed, because it's just the nature of the destruction system. Like the pieces have to be a certain size, and if the pieces are too small, it's just way too much on the computer's CPU. So the world had to be chunky. The world had to have like a low poly chunky size. So kind of those were like the walls boxing me in, and I just had to find something that worked within that. And what worked is like a lot of shininess, a lot of glow, and like a lot of like stuff to break, like glass you can dive through, and like computers that you can shoot that explode. And,
but it's like you said, like I mean, and the thing that brings up, it's not just not only the fact that it looks really cool and when it's exploding, you know, it has a nice visual flair to it, but it's also, you know, in terms of the fact that things are destructible, it's another tactical, gameplay loop that you can use, right? So like, I mean, whether it's just shooting through a wall to get to an enemy, or shortcutting through to the end of the level, these kind of things. So it adds more depth to it. And again, it just goes back to that. It blows my mind that you're working on this by yourself, because it is so polished and there are so many ideas in this game that it was just. And I like the fact that there's like new ideas introduced every few levels, and that's what I like, right? The enemies act differently. You have the enemies with the shields that get introduced, you have the more platforming stuff when you're top of the trains, the speeding trains, doing that platforming. It's just a really, really, really worthwhile game, and it's crazy to me that you worked on it by yourself. It's incredible.
Well, I mentioned this to you before the interview, but I got to shout out my level designers, Bloody and Aura.
Yes, you were saying.
Bloody joined me like midway through the project, and it was funny. He built levels in I didn't even have like a level editor tool then. Like there was this external software called like Magic of Voxel.
Yeah.
And he built levels in that, and he didn't have a copy of the game yet. I wasn't distributing it, so he just watched footage of the game, built levels in this tool, and then just sent them to me, and they worked like remarkably well for someone who only watched the game on a video.
Crazy. It's crazy. I mean,
so then he joined the team, and then Oros joined the team when the game was launched.
Yeah,
there was a workshop support on Steam, and users could build levels, and Oros built these amazing levels, and I'm like, you got to join the team.
Absolutely.
So we joined the team, and a lot of levels on Switch weren't on PC at launch. They were like part of a free expansion pack.
Right.
Like the first train level was Oros built, and the game didn't launch with that. That was added after.
Nice.
So yeah, I appreciate all the solo dev compliments, but
that's amazing.
Some of those levels I could not have done them.
Yeah, and I know you had someone come on for the music, which is another part of the game that I really like. The music goes perfectly with the game. It's that kind of because the game is it's got that kind of neon style, and the music just got that kind of club type music, goes really well with it. Was that your decision to go with that type of music, or did you just pass it on to someone and work on different sounds and see what clicked? So what this, how the music eventually worked is, so Floating Door is the name of the artist, and he joined the project because someone joined my Discord. Mm-hmm.
And just like linked his like SoundCloud, and it was like, you should collaborate with him. So I sent him a message, and he was down. And I'd say honestly, the first year of development, we were really trying to figure it out, because I didn't really know what the game's visuals were going to be, and the game wasn't in a playable state where I could send it to anybody.
Right. Yeah.
So he was just kind of taking what I pretty much told him is like, make stuff that sounds like Hotline Miami. That was like my first, because that was like
nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so he did a year of that, and the music was good, but I'd say most of the songs, like the signature songs of the game, he probably wrote within 6 months of launch.
Wow.
Because at that point, like the game finally had visual style. It was finally in a state where like people could play it. And then I think he pretty much went from there, and he didn't really need much feedback. I'd give him suggestions on like maybe like make the drums louder, make the vocals louder.
Yeah.
But he just kind of went off.
It is perfect. It's almost like you're in one of those like scenes in a movie, like in a nightclub with the flashes are going off, and it just, when you're running around, sliding across the floor and jumping off walls and shooting glass and jumping through windows, it just goes perfectly with it. So I definitely really enjoyed that. And so I was going to ask you, in terms of the character, I know some people will look at the Cannon Arm, and so did you look at other characters, I don't know, such as Samus or Joanna Dark? Did they have any influence on when you were designing a character for Seven Steel?
Yeah, I mean, Samus, obviously, the arm cannon. I mean, Samus, and kind of like early, like mid 2000s, like action movie heroines, like Trinity from the Matrix.
Of course, yeah.
Or like there's this like silly video game Blood Rain.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Remember Blood Rain? Yeah,
vampire. Of course. I'm a golden oldie, Matt. all the way up from the NES. How depressing it is now when you chat to kids today about video games, and like their idea of retro is like PS3 now. It's so depressing.
Oh, well, it's funny. I was at like a wedding after party recently, and like some kids heard that like I knew about video games, so they swarmed me, and they're like, like what games, like what's your favorite shooter?
Yeah.
And I'm like, Modern Warfare 2.
Oh, nice.
And they're like, oh, you pre-ordered it? And I'm like, no, the Modern Warfare 2 from like a decade ago.
The original, yeah.
Yeah.
You can't even show people GoldenEye anymore. It's like, forget it, you know? It's just
my
what
God.
is that, you know?
Yeah, the visuals and the controls. Like that game, GoldenEye has crazy controls.
Do you know what? Yeah, I tried. I don't know when it was. Maybe about a year ago. I dug out my N64 and I tried to play GoldenEye.
Oh boy.
And it's just, I was so bad at it. It's like, how did we ever play games like this? One stick, you know? And it's just, it was really awkward. Really, I know a lot of people want that game to come back. I don't know. I think they should just leave it. Just leave it to the memories because it hasn't aged well, bless it. It was one of my favorite games, but no. So how was it bringing the game to the Switch? Did you have any challenges bringing it over? I imagine it must have been.
Oh boy. Right? Yeah, that Switch was worth it. Very hard. I had to change a lot. It's just like the way, I don't want to insult the Switch. I love the Switch, but someone told it to me is like, imagine like the weakest computer that could play your game. Then,
like low settings.
Yeah, and it's divided in half. God. So we had to go into it, but it's so a benefit is a lot of the optimizations we made for Switch made their way to other platforms. Like we really had to work hard to get Switch load times down. And so now load times are better for all consoles. So it was hard. I had to make a lot of changes. Had to optimize the AI a lot. Because some of the later levels have like tons of enemies. Like the last level. Have you beaten the game?
I've got like 3/4 way through. I'm looking at it now.
Last level's massive, and that one took a lot of work to get rid of on the Switch. Had to redo the lighting for the Switch.
Yeah.
But it was worth it. I beat the game like 3 times on Switch the week of launch. I think it's a lot of fun, so it was worth it.
I mean, definitely, and well, it's like I was saying before, like this, it is such a pick up and play game, you know, in that, like I've admitted I've died. I just don't even know, you know. I've died more than that, more than I've played the game, you know. But it's never frustrating. It's just I instantly just press play, you know, carry on playing again, another go, and I just keep going. So it does have that really, really, you know, addictive, you know, gameplay loop, you know. I loved it. And what's been the reaction you've gotten? Have you seen any of the reactions you've gotten from Nintendo fans? Because everyone I've showed this game to, like, you have to, you know, I take my Switch. I shouldn't say this, but I take my Switch to work all the time, and
nice.
And so like I've been playing it at work, right? And you know, a lot of us at work have a Switch. And everyone I've shown the game to, like, oh my god, like what the hell is that? You know, and everyone's been really impressed by it. Yeah. So because it's a very striking game, right? And they see the action, and it's just really just fast paced, and everyone's really liked it. So I kind of thought I imagined, you know, Nintendo fans would really like dig this game. So I just wondered if you got any of the reaction your way.
Oh yeah, I mean, the reviews are good. People are happy with it. I mean, the way my brain works is I'm always focused on the critical feedback.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like I gotta get gyro. I gotta patch gyro, and
that is like the first thing I could already imagine, because actually a few people I showed it to, that's the first question they asked me. It's like, does it have gyro? And I was just I was like, if it doesn't, it probably will soon, because I imagine everyone's going to be asking for it.
I can't give a hard date, but maybe in a month. It depends. Maybe less. Yeah.
So God, I don't know how far forward I want to push you, but what are your plans in the future? Do you already know what your second game is going to be after Severed Steel? Do you have any plans of what you want to do?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit more coming out for Severed Steel. There's some more, like there's the gyro patch. And,
yes.
I might release some bonus levels.
I was going to ask you, will it be bonus level? That would be amazing. That would be awesome.
Yeah, and I'm starting to think about like maybe some sort of like roguelite mode where it like there's like a randomly it'll randomly generate a campaign, and then it's like there's like permadeath, so it's like a pick up and play. It's not entirely clear to me yet, but one last mode, and then I'll say like I'll probably goodbye to Severed Steel. Maybe, I mean, who knows? But then I think my next project, something multiplayer co-op, and it's not entirely clear to me what that is. I've been experimenting. Probably destructible environments like Severed Steel.
Yeah.
I don't know if maybe it'll be a Severed Steel game, maybe not.
That's why I wanted to ask you. Yeah, would it be exactly? Would it be connected?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I have an idea of what I want the gameplay to be for my next game, but I'm not sure like what the IP will be or what specifics are. But something like multiplayer co-op.
And so, like, where's Greylock today? How's your studio evolved from 3 years ago to now? You know, how has it grown, and how do you see it evolving?
Funny. Yeah. Well, it's just me still. I don't know. I bought a better laptop recently.
Yeah. Oh god. But, I mean, did you? Did you study game design before you got into?
Sorta. My major university was psychology, so not really.
Wow.
And in fact, I know, right? In fact,
incredible.
I got a pretty bad grade on my one program, which is pretty funny. But then I taught game programming in middle school for like 5 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I had to like teach myself because I didn't know how to program before that. So I taught myself how to program to teach people how to program. So it's like I guess I was self-trained, but like it was a job. So you know.
God, that's incredible though. My God, like to say that this is the result, you know,
yeah, it worked out pretty well.
And what did I want to ask you? I wanted to ask you something about that's it, about whether you ever thought about creating. Did you ever think about putting in any multiplayer at all? Was there any pressure at adding some online multiplayer into Severed Steel at all?
Yeah, I mean, I thought about it. I think the way game development works is it's really hard to add multiplayer on at the end of it. There's just so many core systems that aren't designed to be like communicated over the internet. It would pretty much take like a new game. So I don't see multiplayer in Severed Steel's future.
Yeah. But you have another. Sorry.
No, well, it's you say the game's so polished. I think part of it is because like it's really focused feature wise. Like it's just like a single player combat focused experience, and because like there's just that narrow range to focus on, it was able to be pretty polished. But if I was also doing like a balanced like multiplayer with like anti-cheat and stuff on top of it, like I'd still be working on the game.
Yeah, no, of course, yeah, no. You know, I feel like we should have like the old school. I was now thinking about GoldenEye again. You know, when they had those cheat codes that like long arms, like Donkey Kong mode and like slow motion mode and that kind of stuff. You know, that I haven't seen games use these type of cheats for years, and that would be so awesome. But
yeah, big head mode. You gotta have
big head mode, exactly.
Yeah, that's great from Golden.
For us, you know, for those of us who really suck at shoot 'em ups, you know, like bigger targets.
Oh yeah. True.
No, that's really awesome. But I know there is another mode in the game also. There's like the point score mode, which I delved into. Tell us a little bit about that, because that again is you know, adds more replayability into the game. So tell us a little bit about that.
That's just a mode where it's just like a combat focused mini game. You choose your level, you choose your weapon, you choose like a custom rule set. Like you can do like low gravity or enemies with big heads or whatever. You choose your arm cannon. It's like a little custom game you make. Yeah. And then you jump into a level, you kill everyone in the level, you get points depending on how many stunts you use, pretty much. And then you get points, which then unlock more levels, more weapons, more game modifiers. And then it's like a light grind for gamers who like grind. You get a little bar that fills up at the end of the level. It's just kind of like a little chill out mode.
Chill out, nice. Like I say, it's something that breaks up the core gameplay, right, of the main campaign, which is what I like about it. What would you say is the aspect you're most proud of in Severed Steel?
Oh yeah, actually I thought about that recently, and there's a particular level in the campaign which I'm most proud of. It's the teleportation labs level where like it's just like this big arena, and then you flip some switches on, and then like the combat kicks off. And, like, I think it's one of the best design levels. It shows off all the game's combat mechanics, and it's got, I think, the best, like one of the top 3 tracks in the game. It's just like everything I think the game does well in like one level. So that's probably what I'm most proud about.
I will be streaming Severed Steel on my channel because I do want as many people to see this as possible, because I think it's an excellent game. It's one of the It's funny. I was talking to a friend recently, and and I was saying that I actually find that this generation of video games or consoles or what, whatever, I actually found I'm a little bit downbeat about them in that it's taken a long time for me to play anything original or fresh. And I played this, and Seven Still is one of the just most freshest, just fun games I've played in a long time. And my friend and I were having this conversation that a lot of these games are coming from indie developers now. They're taking chances, and being a bit more creative. And I don't know, maybe it's the freedom that there is more freedom amongst indie developers. But but when I see games like this, it's just it kind of gives me hope a little bit, that we'll see more games like this, so this so I will be streaming it, and I'll make sure as many people see this game as possible, because I think it's an excellent game. I think anyone who has the Switch, anyone who likes first person shooters is going to enjoy this game. And for me, it's been a huge pleasure talking to you, man. I wanted to, as soon as I saw the game, I was like, I need to find you, I need to interview you, I want to talk about this game. So I was really excited to talk more about Seven Still with you. So thank you so much for giving us your time. I really appreciate it. Good luck with Gyroscope. Good luck with whenever you enroll with the game. Good luck with the remainder lifespan of the game. And I also cannot wait to see what you work with, what you bring out in the future also.
Thanks, Michael. That was a lot of fun. I really appreciate you taking the time to make this happen.
Cool. Thank you so much, buddy.